Hey guys, in today's video I'll be doing another tropical update, and of course we're mainly going to be talking about Hurricane Iota. Theta officially, like I said, has become fully history, and the last advisory was issued on it earlier this morning. Now let's talk about we're really just going to be talking about Hurricane Iota throughout this whole video, because of course Iota is the biggest threat currently to land and the biggest deal currently in the tropics right now. And currently, as of the 1 p.m. advisory, Iota is still a 90-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane, so it's a strong Category 1 hurricane. Pressure is now down to 977 millibars, and it's moving directly west now at 9 miles per hour. All right, so let's look at now the current National Hurricane Center forecast cone that was put out at the 10 a.m. Eastern Time advisory. This is the most current up-to-date forecast cone. You can see that since, as of the 1 p.m. advisory, they found Iota moving directly west. It seems to be not really corresponding to the way the track is showing it. They show it from this point forward, kind of still moving towards like the northwest and then curving west more towards overnight tonight into early tomorrow. But you can see that it will continue to be a hurricane. Likely, I think, will become a Category 2 or even a Category 3 hurricane by later this afternoon and later this evening. And then, as of the new forecast cone, they are saying that it will become a major hurricane, though, by tomorrow morning at around 7 a.m. Monday, and will continue to be a major hurricane up until landfall in the northern coast of Nicaragua, right around the same exact area Hurricane Iota made landfall. So it's really devastating that this is happening. Very just horrible that this is happening. Yeah, it's truly devastating. I think the new forecast cone that'll come out with the new advisory at 4 p.m. advisory, that'll come out in like the next few hours or so, will update the NHC forecast cone to have it maybe moved a little farther south or something. But, we'll see. Now, let's look at the wind speed probabilities, and now the tropical storm force wind probabilities. You have a 100% chance of tropical storm force wind speed probabilities for that very northern, northeast coast of Nicaragua and the very southern coast of Honduras there, including Port Cabezas. So you guys are definitely going to be seeing tropical storm force winds. Here's the 58-mile-per-hour wind speed probabilities, and even those are quite high at around 70 to 80%. So for those northern coastline of Nicaragua there, likely around where the storm will make landfall. And then here is the hurricane wind speed probabilities, and those are even already quite high at this point, where the northern coast of Nicaragua, as well as especially, already has up to a 60 to 70% chance of hurricane force wind speeds. So that's crazy, and again, those wind speed probabilities will continue to go up as the storm center and just the storm will just continue to move closer as we head into early this week. Here's the earliest reasonable arrival time for tropical storm force winds. You can see likely those tropical storm force winds will arrive, in fact, for that coast of Nicaragua, Honduras, around late afternoon, probably around 5, 6, 7 p.m. or so. Those, again, I think most likely it seems that tomorrow and maybe a good bit of Tuesday as well, you will have time. Well, no, actually, no, what am I saying? No, not. No. I think really today and through most of tomorrow, you guys in Nicaragua and Honduras will have, this is like the last amount of time you guys will really have safely to get prepared for Iota. So really try to now really rush your preparations to really be prepared for the storm. Here's the wind history of the storm. You can see it's become a hurricane as of lately, shown by that more brown shade of the hurricane force wind swath for Iota. So there's that. Here's the key messages. Let's look at the key messages. So again, Iota is expected to continue to rapidly intensify and be an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane when it approaches the coast of Central America on Monday. Potentially catastrophic. So catastrophic winds, of course, life-threatening storm surge are expected along the coast of northeastern Nicaragua and eastern Honduras, where a hurricane warning is in effect, as you saw. And hurricane conditions are expected and storm surge impacts are possible on Providencia tonight and Monday. So it's those. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Providencia is those two kind of islands just east of Nicaragua. There, those areas will likely start to experience the full wrath of Iota going into tonight and early tomorrow. So there's that, and then through Thursday, though, heavy rainfall from Iota will likely lead to life-threatening flash flooding and river flooding across portions of northern Colombia and Central America. Flooding and mudslides in Honduras and Nicaragua could be exacerbated by Hurricane Ida's recent effects there, resulting in significant to potentially catastrophic impacts. So, yeah, again, this is really going to be a really dangerous storm, especially, again, coming on just literally pretty much the heels of Ada just coming right through this exact same area. It's really terrible news with that. Now, let's look at the Weather Channel's forecast coming from the National Hurricane Center showing the wind speeds at certain times. So you can see by Sunday evening, so by this evening, they show it at 110 miles per hour. So, yeah, again, I expect it to be a Category 2 hurricane going into later this afternoon and evening. And then getting towards through most of tomorrow and then towards Monday evening, right before landfall, it's expected to really intensify and become a Category 4 hurricane. Looks to peak at around 140 miles per hour now. Really a pretty decently strong Category 4 hurricane right before landfall. And Ada actually, in fact, made landfall in this pretty much exact same area as a 140 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane. So it's pretty much deja vu for these areas once again, which is really terrible. Here's the rainfall potential map from the Weather Channel through Friday. You can see a lot of areas, especially in those very northeastern portions of Nicaragua and the very northern parts of Honduras, expect a foot, 1 to 1.5, 2 feet plus. In fact, some localized areas could see as high as 30 inches of rainfall. So, yeah, again, this is going to be a really, really damaging big flood disaster, just like Ada as well. Storm surge as well will add on to the flooding disaster with this storm as well, just like Ada. And in fact, as of right now, life-threatening, potentially catastrophic storm surge of 10 to 15 feet above normal tide levels is expected north of where Iota makes landfall, along the northern coast of Nicaragua and coast of eastern Honduras. So, yeah, again, this is really going to be another big catastrophic storm surge and rainfall storm, just like Ada was. Now, Ada's official storm surge was a bit higher than this. It was more towards 21 feet of storm surge. But we'll have to see with we'll see after throughout the rest of today into tomorrow how much more quickly the storm intensifies. Because if this storm intensifies a bit more than expected at any certain point, the storm surge forecast could in fact get upped a bit. So that would be really, really catastrophic and really dangerous. So we'll really have to keep an eye on that to see what would happen with that. Let's look at what Iota looks like now on the satellite imagery loop, and you can see it's really started to getting its act together a lot more. You can see lots of those really tall cloud tops are starting to really blow up around the center now, and in fact, I think even an eye is starting to form, and in fact, actually, recent Air Force recon plane was just in Iota, and confirmed that there was an eye that is confirmed to be 20 nautical miles wide, so that's quite interesting. So looks like Iota now does have an eye. Now let's go and show you the Air Force plane. Oh, in fact, actually, there's a new Air Force plane now, a fourth mission going into Iota now. But here is the third mission, just this most recent mission that went into Iota, and you can see it found central pressure there within that center of 977 millibars, and then drop sounds also confirmed that the pressure did drop 2 millibars to 975 millibars. So the pressure is also continuing to drop, even as of the last advisory. So the storm is still continuing to strengthen. And in fact, this is the top. If you look at the top left box here on your screen, this is the rain rate and surface wind observations, and you can see at one point they did find sustained surface winds as high as 70 knots. They didn't find, in fact, they didn't really find wind speeds when they went in just earlier of up towards that, again, 90 mile per hour sustained winds that the NHC has Iota at currently. But That was likely due to the fact that a lot of the convection earlier did kind of wane a bit before it started to really come back. So we'll likely, though, going forward now with the convection really starting to blow up back back in and around the center, those winds will likely correspond to that pressure dropping, and the winds will likely continue to go up as the storm still looks like it is strengthening quite a bit. Now, let's look at the hurricane model track guidance. You can see they're all still in great agreement that it will continue generally to the west and make landfall there, again, in pretty much the exact same place Hurricane Eta made landfall in northern Nicaragua around Port Cabezas, and continuing to the west across Central America, across Nicaragua and Honduras. The biggest difference, though, I will say between Eta and Iota is that it doesn't look like Iota will, slowly curve north over Central America and start to head towards the U.S. like Eta did. It looks like we'll just continue to the west and just cross Central America into the Pacific. So there is that bit of good news about the storm at the least. Here is the new GEFS ensemble model track guidance for Iota, and you can see it really shows the storm again strengthening as it's really approaching landfall there. Yeah, it's going to be really, really strengthening likely as it's really starting to get really close to landfall. Here is the 12Z run of the most up-to-date run of the model intensity guidance forecast for Iota, and you can see pretty much all of the models continue to have it strengthening from this point forward still for the next day and a half or so, maybe at least the next day and a half. Bunch of models have it getting towards category 3, even if you get it up towards category 4 status. So again, category 4 status is definitely not out of the question. In fact, it is currently the storm is currently forecast by the National Hurricane Center to peak at a category 4 hurricane. So we'll really have to watch that and see how the storm does corresponding to that current forecast. But again, this storm will likely be a very, very dangerous storm, just like Eta, be pretty much almost around the same, in fact, intensity when it will make landfall as Eta was at landfall in Nicaragua. So that's very, very concerning, pretty much exactly a deja vu type of situation there for Central America, particularly Nicaragua and Honduras. All right, now let's look at the forecast models, and I'll first show you the GFS model, and then I'll show you the European model. The European model. I'm not going to show you the CMC model. That's really it's really not an important model to show you guys at all, since it's not really that accurate. So I'll show you the GFS model now, then the European model, and then I'll show you the HWRF and HMOD models. So first, again, we're starting off with the GFS model. You can see moving this forward in time, the GFS model shows it really strengthening up until landfall, and then crossing into Nicaragua, Honduras, and dropping again really, really heavy rainfall, bringing very strong winds, devastating, most likely also devastating amounts of storm surge, along with those very devastating amounts of rainfall as well. So that's really bad news. Speaking of which, by the way, after Iota, the GFS model has started to get a lot more consistent, with showing potentially another tropical cyclone forming right behind Iota, in the heels of Iota, in pretty much the exact same area. In fact, if we just quickly go back to the National Hurricane Center page, I want to show you guys this. Very, very bad news. This just came out with the newest advisory at 1 p.m. Shows a new disturbance area of potential development there, right within where Iota and Eta, both where Iota and Eta formed, and currently has a 20% chance of formation within the next 5 days. And in fact, and it says that another area of low pressure could form in a few days over the central or southwestern Caribbean Sea. Development, if any, of the system is expected to be slow to occur late this week, while the system moves slowly westward across the southwestern Caribbean Sea. So, man, it looks like just the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season will not stop, and honestly, we likely will end up getting Kappa again towards later this week. So that's just really terrible news for Central America as well. Now, the thing is, it does look like if this new disturbance, if in fact it does get named, if it does become Kappa, it does look like it will track much, much farther south than where Eta and Iota made landfall, and will more likely track farther south and make landfall more towards very southern Nicaragua and those very southern portions of Central America, and in fact also cross into the Pacific. And then actually, in fact, if we just continue looking out, there is the potential of maybe even Lambda there, as you can see with that bit of a hooked amount of precipitation there with that low pressure center forming. So it really just generally looks like the Atlantic will continue to be very, very active, even moving forward past, even after Iota becomes history. So it's just truly devastating that just this is occurring. Now let's show you the European model. You can see the European model continues to show the system moving forward and moving to the west, and really shows it strengthening up until landfall. And then again, we'll also bring really strong winds, devastating amounts of rainfall and storm surge as well. So to those exact same areas Eta hit in northern Nicaragua and a lot of Honduras, pretty much all of Honduras as well, just like where Eta hit and really devastated. So just terrible, terrible news there. All right, now let's show you what the HWRF model is showing currently. And let's change this to radar and MSLP. Here is the HWRF model, and we move this forward in time, moving into tomorrow and into Tuesday. Really shows the storm really strengthening, in fact, and getting down to around 934 millibars, which is a pretty strong Category 4 hurricane, then making landfall there in Central America and bringing, again, very devastating amounts of rainfall. Oh, I apologize about that. Excuse me. But again, yeah, it's going to really bring devastating amounts of rainfall, as you can see. Very strong winds, very devastating amounts of storm surge potentially as well. So that is what the HWRF model is showing, a very, very powerful system. HMON model now, let's show you what the HMON model is now showing for Iota. Moving forward in time, you can see it shows it a much, much weaker system than what the HWRF model is showing. Now only showing it getting down to 950 millibars before making landfall in Central America, but also still bringing, still generally likely the same effects as what the HWRF model is showing. Very heavy rainfall, very devastating amounts of rainfall, very strong winds in any case as well, and most likely a lot of damaging storm surge, in fact. So both models and all of the models are still pretty much generally in great agreement that this system will continue to strengthen and become a very, very devastating storm, just like Eta in the exact same areas. All right, so now let's look at the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season Wikipedia page, and again, this hurricane season has been a very, very record-breaking active Atlantic hurricane season. This is the most active Atlantic hurricane season on record, beating 2005. We have had a total of 31 depressions, record high, tied with 2005. 30 named storms, record high. We've beaten now 2005 by 2 named storms now, and might even beat it by 3 named storms getting towards later this week if that new disturbance now forms into Kappa. 13 hurricanes. Iota has now become our 13th hurricane of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. This is in fact the second most active Atlantic hurricane season in terms of total hurricanes, behind 2005. 2005 had the record highest amount of hurricanes ever for an Atlantic hurricane season, with 15 hurricanes total. This season is right behind that with the second highest amount for any Atlantic hurricane season, with 13 hurricanes total. 5 major hurricanes. Iota will likely become our 6th major hurricane of the season, making us ending with one, just getting short of 1 major hurricane short of tying 2005 for the record highest amount of major hurricanes in any hurricane season at 7. So that's crazy as well. Total fatalities so far this season is now at a total of 324, and total damage thus far this season is at somewhere above $38.432 billion in damage. It's been a pretty damaging and deadly hurricane season. Been a very, very active Atlantic hurricane season. This is also the most active November, in fact, that I've ever seen in my life, and probably one of the most active Novembers ever on record. In fact, as well, here's something new and interesting as well. Ever since we started entering the Greek alphabet, actually, in fact, ever since really, between really October 1st through now, with the Greek alphabet name storms we've had, pretty much really from Gamma through Iota now, it's produced, all of those storms combined have produced an ACE value of pretty much not an above average amount of ACE total, but pretty much like a normal amount of ACE total, pretty much around 66 units. All those storms combined created for a total ACE value, which is pretty much like the normal amount, like that typically you'd see with any Atlantic hurricane season. That's like pretty much average. They created like an average, pretty much all those storms, just gamma through iota. That's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 named storms. All of those storms combined created an average total of 66 units, which is an average, ended up being an average amount of ACE formed just by those 7 systems. So that's just crazy to show you how active, truly active this Atlantic hurricane season has been, with just like those 7 systems forming, just in total combined created an average amount of ACE. And in any case, the total amount of ACE so far this year's hurricane season is pretty much now actually, in fact, more towards 170 units, pretty much more exactly at more around 168, 169 units. So that needs to be updated a bit on this Wikipedia page for the Atlantic hurricane season this year. But again, Iota will likely continue to strengthen, become a pretty strong and likely very dangerous and devastating storm, just like Eta did in those exact same areas in Central America, Nicaragua, Honduras. So just truly devastating that this is occurring. So again, we'll continue to keep you guys up to speed with everything going on with Iota and how strong Iota is getting, and as well with that newest advisory, now a new disturbance area that the National Hurricane Center is watching in that same exact region that Iota and Eta formed in. Could become Kappa, in fact, as we head towards later this week. As of right now, it only has a 20% chance, a low 20% chance of development over the next 5 days. But that, honestly, with the way this year's Atlantic hurricane season has gone, and just with how conducive the Caribbean has been for quite a long time, this disturbance likely, honestly, will become our next named storm. We'll get Kappa, which would be our 31st named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season this year, which is just insane. But in any case, in the end, we've had a very insane, record-breaking, active Atlantic hurricane season, no doubt about that. Yeah, again, this is it for today's video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this video. This has been my update for Hurricane Iota, which is now a strong Category 1 hurricane and still is strengthening. Likely will become a Category 2 hurricane over the next few hours, getting into later this afternoon and overnight this evening. And then will likely become a major hurricane going through overnight tonight into early tomorrow. And, we'll just have to see how much stronger it'll get, So, again, we'll continue to keep you guys up to date with this. A very dangerous storm, once again, for those same exact regions in Central America that Eta really devastated. So, yeah, just on top of that, we'll really have to keep you guys up to date with all of that, with what Iota is doing to those areas. So, really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please consider liking the video, commenting on the video, and if you found it informative, as well. And if you are a first-time viewer and you liked what you saw in today's video, if you like tropical content, I do all kinds and tons of tropical content on my channel. I've done tons of videos on every single tropical cyclone this year in the Atlantic for this hurricane season. So if you like that kind of content, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.